Several studies have reported an association, not proof of causation, between prenatal acetaminophen exposure and later diagnoses like ADHD or autism, including research that measured acetaminophen markers in umbilical cord blood and saw a dose-response pattern. Other analyses, however, suggest those links may be explained by confounding. A 2024 study using sibling comparisons found no increased risk for autism or ADHD when controlling for shared family factors. Where do guidelines land right now? The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists says acetaminophen remains the safest first-line option for treating pain or fever in pregnancy when used as needed and at the lowest effective dose. The FDA acknowledges possible risks with chronic use, but advises individualized decisions and careful label-directed dosing. Bottom line, occasional medically guided use is still supported by major medical bodies, while researchers continue to study potential risks, especially with prolonged or high-dose exposure. If you're pregnant, the consistent advice is simple: talk to your clinician before taking any medication. In a major move, President Trump signed an executive order backing a divestiture deal to transfer TikTok's U.S. operations into American hands, a roadmap to keep TikTok alive in this country under new ownership. The deal values the U.S. version at roughly $14 billion, with Oracle, Silver Lake, and other U.S. investors controlling most of the new company. ByteDance would retain less than 20% and limited influence over critical operations. To address national security concerns, the order mandates that TikTok's recommendation algorithm be retrained under U.S. supervision and that Chinese access be blocked. It also gives all parties 120 days to finalize the deal, including seeking China's regulatory approval. Supporters say this strikes a balance, preserving the platform while safeguarding American data and reducing foreign influence. Critics warn it may not fully sever ByteDance's ties and question whether oversight will be robust enough to prevent backdoor control. As this deal moves forward, many eyes will be on how much real autonomy the U.S. entity holds and how well the algorithm is shielded from external influence. In a significant legal development, former FBI Director James B. Comey has been indicted by a federal grand jury in Virginia on charges of making false statements and obstruction of a congressional proceeding stemming from his 2020 testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee. The Justice Department confirmed the indictment, saying it relates specifically to statements he made during a hearing on FBI investigations into the Trump campaign. The timing is striking. The statute of limitations was still looming, and the case comes only days after President Trump publicly called for Comey's prosecution. Lindsay Halligan, recently installed as U.S. Attorney in Virginia, led the office that brought the charges, some of which comes after previous reports that career prosecutors had concluded the evidence was not strong enough to indict. Comey insists he is innocent and has pledged to fight the charges, issuing a public video defending his reputation. Now, the legal spotlight turns to the courtroom. Will this case proceed on its merits or become entangled in questions of politics and prosecutorial discretion? In a sweeping move, President Trump has ordered federal prosecutors in Washington, D.C. to pursue the death penalty in crimes that qualify under federal law, despite the fact that local D.C. law abolished capital punishment decades ago. His memorandum tasks Attorney General Pam Bondi and U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro with bringing capital charges in all cases deemed appropriate and pushing to assert federal jurisdiction over homicide cases in D.C. that may otherwise fall under local authority. The stated aim is deterrence. Officials say this is a response to a crime emergency declared earlier this year. Supporters see this as a bold law and order step, leveraging federal power in a jurisdiction with unique legal complexities. Critics, however, warn it could undermine D.C.'s local autonomy, raise constitutional conflicts, and politicize prosecutorial discretion. We're tracking how courts, local officials, and civil rights groups respond, because this development could reshape how federal and local laws intersect in the Capitol. A striking flyer from a group calling itself the John Brown Gun Club was posted on Georgetown University's campus, bearing the slogan, "Hey Fascist, Catch," a phrase reportedly carved into bullet casings after the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. The flyer included bold messaging about celebrating violence and linked via QR codes to pages promoting direct action. University officials removed the flyers and launched an investigation, while conservative students say they perceive them as threats targeted at their political identity. The connection to Kirk's shooting comes from bullet casings recovered at the scene, engraved with similar slogans and anti-fascist references. Experts tracking the trend warn that inscribed ammunition may be becoming a form of symbolic messaging in violent acts, though it's unclear whether this represents organized recruitment or performative posturing. As authorities trace the origin of these flyers and assess their potential links to extremist networks, This incident highlights the complicated intersection of rhetoric, violence, and ideological signaling in today's political climate. Big changes are coming to how the U.S. handles drug imports. On September 25th, President Trump announced a sweeping new tariff policy. Starting October 1st, any imported branded or patented pharmaceutical product will face a 100% tariff, unless the manufacturer is actively building a U.S. factory. The move is part of a broader push to bring drug manufacturing back to American soil, along with tariffs on heavy trucks, furniture, and kitchen products. The exemptions hinge on companies breaking ground or being under construction on U.S. plants. Global markets reacted swiftly. Major pharmaceutical stocks dropped, including in India, where the U.S. is a key export market. Critics say this could raise drug prices, disrupt supply chains, and limit access to vital medications in America. Supporters frame it as a bold step toward self-reliance, economic sovereignty, and stronger domestic industry. The next few weeks will be critical. Will pharmaceutical companies accelerate U.S. investments to dodge the tariff? And how will Americans feel when medicines could cost more at the pharmacy? Like and subscribe for more updates.